So the final and newest trailer for The Chosen Season 4 just dropped, and this is specifically for episodes 1 through 3. So let's watch this new trailer, and then we're going to break it down piece by piece so I can show you every little detail in here without any spoilers that I know from watching episodes 1 and 2. Of course, there's a lot of stuff in here from episode 3 that I won't verify either. So let's jump in here, let's watch this, and then let's break it down.
Our hearts are so tender. All our emotions right at the surface. Laughter. Tears. Closer than ever. Should we avoid dark places out of fear? Or should we be light to them? Night is coming, and I have limited time. And as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Let's not argue the sins of the past. We've got light to give.
This teacher from Nazareth is a sinner.
All of you! This man is dangerous!
Oh, I am just getting started.
We will concentrate our efforts on preserving God's law. You really need to do something. Don't become infamous for overseeing the town where a revolution started.
You blind guides! Neglecting what is actually important of the law. Justice, mercy, faithfulness. Whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light.
All I know is this man must be from God. I was blind. Now I see.
Okay, so really interesting stuff. Let's jump into this, and we're just going to go frame by frame, scene by scene, and kind of talk about what each of these things are. We're also going to bring up some scripture verses that have to go along with some of these moments here. So let's kind of turn this volume down a little bit, and let's just jump through and see what we can find here.
Our hearts are so tender.
So this is going to be a key point, I think, of this trailer. Is there's a few hints here between Simon Peter here, and so let's jump into this here. He's obviously sitting down at a fire with Jesus here.
All our emotions right at the surface.
We see Matthew kind of looking on. Again, in the behind the scenes, we saw this this scene in particular where all the apostles are kind of sitting around a fire, and then Matthew was off on his own, Jesus was off on his own, and then some people were talking to Jesus. And so that's this scene here.
After.
Now, of course, we've seen a portion of this scene between Rama and Thomas. In the background there, you can see Barnaby and Shula. Right now, you can only see Barnaby. Is that Shula next to him? I can't really tell. She may be standing on the other side. But Barnaby and Shula are back there chaperoning them. We saw this one, I think, on YouTube. They released it about a week ago or so. And this is obviously Thomas and Rama talking about their relationship and what's kind of going on there. They're actually touching hands here, which is like really not something that people who aren't married or aren't together are supposed to be doing. Definitely if you're not betrothed or anything like that. So this is definitely something that would be very, very strange in public to see two, people of the opposite sex be touching each other like this. So this is obviously indicative of what they're trying to do or where they want to go, for sure. So yeah.
Tears.
Now we see Andrew here, and he is shaking his head, and you can see that he's about to like cry almost. This could be the moment where he finds out about John the Baptist and what's happening or happened to him. This is going to be a really interesting moment in season 4 because we've seen how Andrew responds even when John is arrested, even when he's just getting in trouble in the past seasons, in season 2 and season 3. Now we're going to see, this final ending moment for John the Baptist. How is Andrew going to respond to that? It's going to be really, really interesting to find that out. We see Mary here on the ground. I'm not sure where this is or what this is about, but this could be really, really interesting here.
Closer than him.
Joanna, of course, a huge part of John the Baptist's story, which we know we're going to see. And if you've been following this channel for a long time, we hypothesized that this is going to be episode 1 because of a lot of the leaks and different things that we've seen behind the scenes. And now here's really interesting. Here's John the Baptist. You can see his camel fur that he's got on, his hands there, and he's touching this piece of wood. Now we know from the YouTube videos and behind the scenes from The Chosen, this is the execution block. So for sure in these first 3 episodes, we're going to see John the Baptist killed. And this is the execution block here where he's going to be beheaded.
Should we avoid dark?
Now, this is Caesarea Philippi. We've talked about this quite a bit. This is the location known as the gates of hell. And this is where we see in Matthew chapter 16, we see that Peter gets his name, Peter. So in the first 3 episodes, we're going to see this moment. But we're also going to see the gates of hell and the impact that the apostles, could see having over the darkness, basically. We see Jesus say this in verse 18, "And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." Then he strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. And so we're going to see that moment here. Really, really, really interesting moment. That we've been waiting for this moment since season 1, right? Finally, we only have one Simon and we've got Peter. And so I wonder how the group is going to respond to that, how they're going to, get into that. We know that even in episode 4, they're still struggling with his name because they're kind of making fun of him a little bit during one of the scenes that we saw, like a sneak peek of that Dallas shared with us a while ago. So really, really interesting stuff there.
Dark places out of fear.
They're walking here. This looks like Caesarea Philippi still, with all the torches
We be
and
light
stuff.
to them. Night is coming.
So here we see everybody kind of coming around the corner and looking at something.
I have limited time.
And here we see a similar scene to what we saw before. We saw Matthew around the fire, and now we're seeing Jesus kind of comfort him.
And as long as I am in the world, I am the light.
So obviously something going on with Matthew, and then we also saw Peter talking to Jesus as well. Now here is Caesarea Philippi, and here is most likely one of the moments where he's talking to Peter for the first time during that verse we just read.
Of the word. Let's not argue the sins of the
There's
past.
Matthew again, and Simon or Peter walking away from Matthew. This is an interesting thing because there's been a shoe that needs to drop over the last few seasons. Remember season 2, episode 3, they got in a huge fight. We've been waiting for a long time for some more character development happen between specifically Simon, Peter, and Matthew. And so I wonder if we're going to see that here.
We've got light to give.
Of course, we got Rhema and Thomas. Interesting scene, maybe another like small date scene or something, probably another chaperone somewhere where they're talking about them, probably.
This teacher from
Now, this scene is something that we've been told is in episode 3, so we know that's upcoming in episode 3, and this is partially, at least, the 7 woes to the Pharisees, which we've already seen a large portion of. You can actually watch a portion of this scene right now on YouTube. They put it up a little while ago, and this is a large crowd scene where we're going to see Rivka. We're going to see the guy who basically was really mad at Veronica last season, who when he found out that she was unclean and he had to go wash himself in the sea. He's actually coming back as more of a main character, maybe not a main character, but definitely someone who's at least more important than a background character. And so I wonder what his role is going to be here. I'm not 100% sure.
Nazareth is a sinner.
All of you,
This man is dangerous.
Oh, I am just getting started.
So now we're seeing here, Jesus is getting into this. This is him getting started, the 7 woes to the Pharisees. So hey, if you're enjoying this video and you really want to support more Christian media content coming up in the future, we could really use your help over on patreon.com/thesnipelife. This is where we'll put all of our behind the scenes content and the most amount of content for season 4, 5, 6, and 7 of The Chosen. There's going to be so much on there, especially when they start filming season 5. You're going to want to be a part of it. It's going to be amazing, and it's all going to be on patreon.com. That's the best way to help support us and to keep us doing what we're doing here on YouTube. If you like our breakdowns and our reactions and everything else that we do on this channel, it's honestly an amazing way to help us out. Anyway, let's get back to the video. So this is some of the things that Jesus says during the 7 woes to the Pharisees. It says, "But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces, for you neither enter yourselves nor allow those who would enter to go in." And he keeps on going, and he goes hard on these Pharisees. Now, this originally, I think, is in Jerusalem. And so there looks like they're definitely changing some of the locations of these different things, not only the 7 woes to the Pharisees, but also some other things along with this as well. And so there's some interesting things kind of coming up, but you've probably heard this before. It says, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly appear beautiful, but within are full of dead people's bones and all uncleanliness." So that is what Jesus is doing here. He's attacking them and telling them the truth about who they are, that they're not as good as they think they are. Now that's the banquet here. Of course, we see Herod and Herodias in the background there. Herod sitting on the chair, and then Herodias behind him there at the table. And we see her daughter here dancing, of course, and doing this dance in order to get John the Baptist's head. There's Herodias in the front of the banquet. There is Joanna's carriage. She's obviously racing off to go talk to some people. We theorized a long time ago that she is going to talk to the apostles about what's happening to John. Now here we're in the Great Sanhedrin in Jerusalem. We get to see Shammai here, and for the first time ever, we get to see Caiaphas. So that's in these first few episodes as well. Really, really interested to see more of Caiaphas this season, absolutely, because we've never seen him before, and he's obviously a major player in the crucifixion of Christ and everything that happens there. There's Shmuel there in the Great Sanhedrin as well. What is that about? Not 100% sure.
Preserving God's law.
Now, we've seen Shmuel there before whenever he was serving that edict with Shammai. But now he seems to be sitting in a seat, which is really, really interesting. Something we haven't really seen before. But here is Caiaphas for the first time here. And then Atticus kind of running through the crowd. My guess is that this is the same scene as the 7 woes to the Pharisees.
We need to do something.
And then obviously we're seeing Quintus here. Atticus is saying you need to do something, and he's like yelling at Quintus because Quintus is losing control here.
Don't become.
This is also the same scene. If you look over to the right up there, you can see right above my head that there is a bust of Quintus being made. We saw this in the behind the scenes, the bust of Quintus being sculpted by a sculptor, and he's trying to like stay still. Atticus kind of interrupts that, and he even threatens to knock it over. We've seen that as well.
Infamous for overseeing the town where a revolution.
And now we see Quintus outside. This is pretty much a rarity. Almost every scene that we've gotten with Quintus has been inside, or inside of his office specifically, or inside of another room. The very first scene that we ever got with Quintus was outside when he confronted Nicodemus on the road into Capernaum. But other than that, mainly we've only seen him in his office. Like that's the only place he's really existed. So now we're seeing Quintus out in the midst of the people, pushing through a crowd, which for him is like degrading, having to touch all these Jewish people, having to go through all this stuff. It would be really degrading for him, and he's probably getting super frustrated that he's even here. This is maybe the same scene too as the 7 woes to the Pharisees, and maybe we're going to see a big clash here. Not sure.
Started.
And here is that guy that I was talking about. This is the guy that was worried about Veronica last time and tried to get the Pharisees to reprimand her because she was unclean before Jesus healed her. And so we're going to see what kind of role he plays. Maybe he's just representative of the rest of the vagabonds that are all in the tent city and all of that, but who knows?
You blind guides!
So there's again a bit of the seven woes to the Pharisees.
Neglect.
We see John here, and we see Matthew over there, and I think that's Zebedee or Big James. I can't tell here.
What is
But of course, we got Jairus. Jairus, I don't think will be a major part of this season, but I think that he will hold some weight, especially with Yusuf and especially with the other apostles while they're in Capernaum. Obviously, Jairus has a major role in Capernaum as the ruler of the synagogue or the kind of administrator of the synagogue. And so we'll see how that kind of plays out.
actually important of the law?
And that's Yusuf, I think, there kind of walking past him.
Justice!
Now here we've seen this scene from Dallas a while ago. He showed us on a live stream that I have a whole video talking about this if you want to go back and watch it on our channel. But this is Quintus yelling at Gaius basically for not doing what he's asked him to do. And so this is really interesting that this is in episodes 1, 2, and 3 as well. This may be the aftermath of that large crowd gathering, and then Gaius gets in trouble for everything here, which is obviously going to lead more into Gaius' story, which we're going to see later on in the season, where his son/servant is going to be healed, etc., etc. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out, if anybody's going to get demoted, or if anybody's going to get in trouble, anything like that.
Mercy!
Now we see Simon here kind of running or walking fast, and he's walking fast past, a couple of the other apostles there.
Justice! Mercy!
Not sure. But here is John the Baptist, and this is obviously some, exaggerated moment, right? Or there's, a large fire in front of him, maybe. But we see as John the Baptist is on that executioner's block, he's got a rope behind his neck holding his head down. And so this is definitely the moment. You can even see a little bit behind him, there's a person in some sort of cloak with a large staff. And so that's most likely the executioner and the executioner's axe there. And so this is the end for John right here. Yeah, really interesting. Gonna be really cool to see how that plays out.
Faithfulness!
Here's Atticus, obviously getting upset and riled up about something.
Whatever.
And Herod here, I think he looks so great. I love his costuming. I love it, love it, love it.
You have said in the
Quintus getting upset. We see Herodias' daughter here as she's dancing again.
dark shall be
Shmuel, that's
heard in
Herodias.
the light.
We got Joanna. Now Joanna is being held by a Roman.
This. Whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the...
Yeah, it looks like there's a Roman soldier kind of holding her back, and she's wearing her cloak that she wore before to kind of walk around, that we've seen her in a lot in the behind the scenes. So she's being kind of held back here, like she's not being allowed to move forward or go somewhere.
The light.
And then Jesus opening this window.
All I know is this man must...
Now this voice is someone who we haven't heard before, but I want to note this moment right here. There is an arm behind his head that is scratching his head, comforting him. Okay, as we're talking to Rabbi Josiah and Rabbi Akiva. These are the two Pharisees in which Jesus is yelling at during the seven woes to the Pharisees moment, okay? And so they're in Capernaum, obviously. Rabbi Akiva is someone who's been an antagonist for the last couple seasons. Rabbi Josiah has been here since season 1, but he just recently got a name last season, as we kind of go into here. And so now we're seeing as someone is comforting this man that's talking to them, and then who is this man?
Be from God.
Jesus looking over here.
I was blind. Now I see.
So I was blind, but now I see. Obviously, amazing grace. But this also links us to John chapter 9, the man born blind. Again, I believe this happens in Jerusalem. I think. I'm certain because it's at the pool of Siloam, basically, that he has him wash. So, again, they're changing the location of this because this does not happen in Capernaum. However, in the show, it looks like both the seven woes to the Pharisees and this this healing moment is going to happen in Capernaum. This is pretty significant because this shows us a couple of different things that are going to happen in this episode with the man born blind. This shows us not only that we're going to see it, that it's going to be in Capernaum, but also they're going to do the full thing, which is really, really interesting. Why do I say they're going to do the full thing? Because originally I thought, okay, maybe they'll do the healing and then they'll have him talk to the Pharisees afterwards. However, in this, you can see that after he is healed, basically the Pharisees don't believe that he was properly healed, that he was actually blind at all. And so people have to basically verify that this was the person that has always been blind since birth and that he's never seen before, so much so that they bring his parents in order to verify not only that it's him, but that he was born blind and that they haven't done any sin and he hasn't done any sin, and that Jesus healed him for a specific purpose. What is that purpose? The purpose for Jesus healing him is to glorify God, okay? And Jesus kind of goes through all of this. So for the second time, they called the man who had been blind and said to him, "Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner." He answered, "Whether he is a sinner, I do not know." They're talking about Jesus. "One thing I do know, though, is I was blind and now I see." That's the exact verse that we're seeing him share right there. Then they said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? I have told you already, and you would not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples?" Okay. So they're kind of like he's trying to explain the situation and saying like how amazing this is and that he wants to become a disciple now, and he's saying, "Do you want to become a disciple as well?" to the Pharisees that like hate him, right? So it should be interesting to see what kind of goes on here, but we looks like gonna see his parents in that previous scene right here.
Blind. Now I see.
Ooh, let me go back a little bit more.
No, is this man
So we see that arm there kind of, it looks like a mother is what I'm thinking. Looks like his mom or his dad kind of comforting him, seeing him being able to see for the first time in his life, right? And so this is going to be really, really interesting. I love this chapter and this verse here, this story in the Gospels. Really, really, really cool moment.
must be from God.
He must be from God.
I was blind. Now I see.
Yep. Looks really, really good. That's our breakdown for episodes 1 through 3, this new trailer. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you're excited, if you're going to go see it. Some of you are probably watching it right now, or you've just finished watching it, or you're about to go watch it very, very soon. I'm going to go in a few hours. Me and Vanessa are going to go and watch this. And so it's going to be an awesome, awesome day as we get into The Chosen Season 4 for the first time. Of course, check back here for all of our breakdowns, deep dives, everything that we're going to do for The Chosen Season 4. We'll have some non-spoiler stuff, so for those of you who haven't seen it, we'll try to get some content out for you, and then we'll have some deep dive spoiler stuff, and then when it comes out on the app, we'll go really, really, really deep and kind of get back into everything through Season 4. So anyway, thank you guys so much. We'll see you on the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe. See you later.